down, at the bar, on the snap, goes down right, looks back left, finds
And welcome to, well, I guess the halfway point of the season, Raymond, if you ask me. Welcome to the East County Prep Football Report with Raymond Brown of SDFootball.net. I only say it, Raymond, because we're getting ready for league play. And whether or not it's a week early or a week late, or some leagues have gotten started for us, that's this is the week where we get ready to get started with league play. But we had some big tilts last week. It was the bye. Let's face it, it was the bye week for most of the teams, and that's why all the games were on Friday night finally, except for one. But they had enough officials to conduct all the games on Friday night. That's what we want, Friday night football. But we'll settle for whatever we get, and we'll review last week's games, go over this week's matchups, and look at the rankings and discuss what's going on with the teams in prep football. Raymond, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Excited for another week of great prep football, especially in the East County. So let's get to it, man. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, hopefully the games will be okay this week when we get to it. The matchups aren't great, but they're coming, and we're coming right now with the highlights. And we'll talk about the big matchup of the week that didn't turn out to be a matchup necessarily, Raymond, but you were out there checking out some of the early action with the Granite Hills Eagles and the Madison Warhawks. And the Eagles coming in, Raymond, riding that long winning streak. Raymond, the last time the Granite Hills Eagles lost was to the Madison Warhawks. So what'd you see out there this week?
I thought this was going to be a pretty exciting game. Thought it was going to be a great matchup. Madison's a great team. Of course, the Eagles are on a long winning streak, and I thought their winning streak would be threatened here. But starting from the opening kickoff, Granite Hills played a great game, still in a possession right here, getting the opening kickoff on a bounce, and it's going to set up a touchdown, one of two touchdowns from freshman quarterback Zachary Benitez. This one going to Brendan Lewis. This is one of his first touchdowns of the game. He's going to get another one later on that we're going to see soon. But great play right there. Shook like three defenders. Very exciting. There's been a Vitez again, and this time he finds Tristan Diaz for another touchdown. Go up early, 14-0. And at this point of the game, I knew this was all Granite Hills. They're just on a roll right now.
Yeah,
here's
Raymond,
Pablo Jackson off the Wildcat.
After they lost that game to Madison, and remember, I think were you at that one last year? Was that at the Madison?
No, I wasn't there.
Remember, it was a pretty thrilling game and a thrilling finish, and the Eagles, it ended up being a tight game. The Warhawks ended up winning at Madison. And since that point, of course, the Eagles, there was an interception. Was he in? Yeah. They won. They went on to win 9 straight, including the CIF and state titles, and now they've started 5 in a row. I keep seeing 15 straight. I think that's 14 in a row, though, for the Eagles.
No, I believe it's 15. I think I counted 15. I got to go back and look. Okay. I know Lincoln got the longest winning streak in the county with 18. And Granite Hills would be second.
Okay.
And here's just the opening kickoff for the second half. Brendan Lewis, second touchdown of the game. He had a great game. And, man, this was all Granite Hills right here. 31-0. I was not expecting this at all, but Granite Hills is just a different team right
15,
now.
okay, you got it there. I
Uh,
thought they went
I
on to
hope it's
win 9.
correct. I thought I
No,
counted.
nonetheless, great video, of course, as always. I thought they had won 9 straight after that in the first 5 this season for 14, but everyone else is saying 15. And, well, I'm not quite in the scene. I'm trying to look. I can't get away from it, Raymond. I'm not going to follow this scene until I'm not doing it anymore. But nonetheless, a great winning streak right now for Granite Hills. We'll talk about the rankings in a moment, but certainly if there was any jostling between the two, and if you can compare the games, Raymond, between HELIX and Madison and Granite Hills and Madison, is there anything in those two results that could separate the two teams at this point for their future matchup?
I got to see the two teams play each other because they're both phenomenal. You know, every game is different, so I can't go score to score and compare them. I got to wait till they match up. But it should be a thriller unless one of these teams slip up and get upset in league play. That should be a great game. I think it's to the point now where both teams, like one of the teams can lose that game and still make it in the open division. But we'll see.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I don't know if we kind of touched on that last week, and maybe we'll just save it for the last week because there's not going to, I don't know if there's going to be an upset in the league with maybe Steel can bite one of the two teams. I don't know, but nonetheless, and I guess an interesting result. We'll find out more this week. I guess we should wait for Raymond's rankings, but with the fact that Carlsbad plays at Mission Hills, I mean, they should still win, but at least it's on the road, and you have 2 top 5 teams playing in that game, so that could change things a little bit. But again, Carlsbad still a huge favorite there. Okay, well, great job with the highlights there. I think you touched on most of the statistics. I hope I don't regurgitate anything there, but you mentioned the scores and all that, but also the Eagles. You saw one of them, the pair of sacks as well. Jackson touchdown. Eagles coast there. Okay. Let's talk about some of these other games now. Raymond had the coverage there on that one, and we'll get into some of the Grossmont Conference play. Maybe a bit of a shocker, maybe not. And I'm just going to say right now, I mean, I feel like I stand corrected here, Raymond, as far as touting El Capitan as the better team over the Santee teams. There's been some kind of slip here with El Capitan, though, because of the results against Santana and West Hills here. It looks like West Hills retains the Tony Berner Memorial Trophy with a pretty convincing win, actually, over El Capitan.
This was a surprising game for me. West Hills, they came to play. Great job on the ground. Diego Cauldron rushes for 134 yards, including a 59-yard touchdown. Colin Deal added to the duel with 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he even put up an interception on defense.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Great game for West Hills. Getting ready for a bigger game that we're going to discuss later on, but that's 3 in a row for El Capitan as far as the losses. Losing to 3 teams that I didn't expect them to lose to. I don't know what's going on at El Cap, but they need to get it together. 2 straight rivalry losses. That can't be good for the morale. But congratulations to West Hills, and great win for them. And we'll see what's going to happen next week.
Well, I think in this one, with like I said, Raymond, all of a sudden, I was wrong. I mean, I thought El Capitan, why are they going to remain in the lower league? They looked like they were better than both West Hills and Santana in my book a little bit, but with the surge of the Sultans and West Hills, the new Hills League teams, maybe the Grossmont Conference got it right. So hats off to them. We'll see. I mean, there's still other results to be determined, and there's no doubt that El Capitan isn't necessarily losing any ground in its pursuit, Raymond, of a league title against Mount Miguel. Certainly that matchup could still be on target here, and El Capitan can be a formidable foe in the postseason in the section. So we'll see. I don't think there's any room, but it was kind of a lopsided. I think everybody's expecting this one to be closer, just as the Santana game was close. But West Hills, this is a nice result for them. You mentioned earlier in the season, the reason I laughed, Raymond, you said, well, Colin Dill on defense. And I was like, I hadn't seen Colin out there on defense. Now, he had been battling injuries throughout the last part of last season, and he also missed a game this season or two, or time anyway. And, they've been running the three quarterbacks. He was in there early, then he wasn't playing, but then he was in, and he did get that interception. And when I saw that, I was like, he is on defense, obviously. He had that pick. He returned at 22 yards. So, Dill, Raymond, on our little intro, when I made the intro, I put some of the biggest stars in the East County, I thought, this season on the intro. Colin Dill's one of them. And, appropriately enough, he had his return to, I would say, return to stardom this week in that game, even though, Calderon, 134 yards and a touchdown. Also mentioned Kyler Hamilton. He passed, Joseph Hamilton passed for 123 yards. Junior Caden Chambers of West Hills, he had a breakout performance with 79 yards receiving on 4 catches. And Oberg, 90-yard kickoff return, and also scored a game-tying touchdown late in the first half. Chancellor Chapa had one of their 3 touchdowns. I don't know if I actually got the other touchdowns from El Cap. Maybe I fell asleep before the PPR this week, or maybe they didn't show it, I'm thinking is what happened, because there was too much scoring by the Wolfpack. So I was looking for those other touchdowns. I know one of them was another short rushing touchdown. I don't know if I frankly didn't catch it. So hopefully I can update my stats and get everything in order here. It's a little tougher for me this season, but that's all I know about it. And West Hills, great job. They, by the way, and we'll talk about the UT poll, but I think I'll just note it right now before we get into it. They debuted, West Hills debuted at number 14 in this week's media poll. Now, we know how it works, Raymond. You and I kind of just, it's a top 10 poll, and we just extend out the, new votes as, 11, 12, 13, 14. They really just get a couple of votes here and there. Nonetheless, the pollsters are just putting whoever won this past week into the poll. I hope West Hills, I hope they're this good. They don't feel like the 14th best team in the county. I love them. I love the Pack. But just seems like the voters are just kind of like, let's go with the flavor of the week, give some other team a vote here at the top 10, but not really putting much thought into it. It feels like, but I don't want to show any disrespect. I didn't have West Hills up there in even my top 20. Well, we'll talk about it. Great job, West Hills, no doubt. If anything, right now they might have kind of throw out the Helix situation a little bit, Raymond, and the Eagles winning streak. But out of all the other teams, I guess I kind of Mount Miguel's up, of course, that too. But West Hills stock is rising over where it was before the season started. That's for sure. Even though they were going to be pretty good. They were going to be good. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Christian, Rock Valhalla here. And Christian is getting some attention from pollsters a little bit as well. They definitely are up and down at this point, but they got a chance to rock somebody here, and they crushed Valhalla.
Great win for Christian. Spencer Johnson, he had 2 touchdown passes. Dylan Ians, he's having a great year. He had a couple of touchdown passes, and he returned a kickoff 75 yards to the house. Excellent win. I don't know what's going on with Valhalla. They had a spark this season, but they still things seem to be going downwards. They're 2-4 right now. But great win for Christian. Great turnaround for Christians. They got off to kind of a slow start themselves. You
mentioned it, Raymond, with Dylan Eads and the 75-yard kickoff return, the 2 first quarter. They were all he had 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I thought he was going to set a world record. But eventually he shared the wealth a little bit. Jacob Morones rushed for a pair of scores. He threw for another. And Gage Zamora scored on a 49-yard run for Christian. That's at least his second of the season. I will mention for Valhalla, Brandon Doctor had another sack. The Doctor was in the backfield once again. And Marvel Bana, Angelo Raffo had interceptions for Valhalla, but Christian rocks here. I don't know. Christian definitely has the talent to win a game like this. I don't know, 40 points might be a little higher than expected, but I think Valhalla, they just might be, just a little bit outclassed in that one. Okay, next up was kind of a short week too. Like I said, lots of teams had byes, so we're almost done actually. But here's Grossmont. This not as close as the score indicated, but still, I think I'm going to give some brownie points to Monte Vista here. Grossmont needed a win like this to prove to themselves that they are who they know they are. I'll say that. They know they're a good team that probably just isn't polished and accomplished as some of the other teams, especially now that they're heading into league play. So it was nice to get a confident win like this against a Monte Vista club who played pretty good considering they were a little bit of an underdog here for sure.
Yeah, great effort by Monte Vista. Great win for Grossmont coming off a 2-game skid. Hudson Herbert's having a great year. I'm glad to see him back. 14 of 20, 256 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And, Cody Bigley, he is having an amazing year. This game, he had 6 catches for 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. Anthony Lawrence put up a tweet saying in the 4 games he's been healthy, he's had over 150 yards. I think I've seen like 200-yard performances. So he's putting up player of the year numbers. Definitely. Probably East County. I don't know. He probably on pace to be on the podium. But great effort by Monte Vista. Jaden Ellison rushed for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what Monte Vista does. They run the ball, and he was able to get a good game out of that. It was pretty close in the second quarter. Grossmont was only up 14-7, but in the third they kind of pulled away. And you're right, the score ain't as close as it looks, but great effort by Monte Vista.
Yeah, I think they're doing pretty well this year, actually, Monte Vista right now. As far as Grossmont, it's going to get tougher. So Herbert, Herbert, I hope he does continue to have a great year and put up some nice numbers. We know the games are going to get extremely tougher from this point forward. So these are the games you want to have some nice games, and just goes to show you what, you put a guy like Anthony Lawrence in here in charge of this situation. Nothing against what went on, over the last couple of seasons, but just a little different focus, a little different mindset offensively, and yeah, it can kind of catch up with you on the back end. I mean, nothing with the different philosophy of the previous 2 Grossmont teams, but this is fun still, and they had a fun time in this one with those big numbers from Herbert. You want to wonder what his feelings were. I would like to ask him. If I wish I were there on the scene, I would like to ask Herbert. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to him again, Raymond. But what was it like for Hudson to be there? He's already transferred to Grossmont, right? And things weren't looking that great. And, he kind of came in younger because of his brothers. Well, like these guys were going to be good quarterbacks in, wherever they ended up. And it wasn't quite going. But then a guy like Anthony Lawrence comes in and you get to meet him. You go to Grossmont, even though it's been many years since Anthony Lawrence was the quarterback. I think with Mr. Lawrence around, announcing the games, and what Hudson Herbert thought at the time, like, hey, I'm gonna get to have some fun now that his life would change a little bit as a high school quarterback. It's got to be fun, even with a few losses here and there. The games will get tougher, though, for Grossmont. And we'll mention some of the highlights here for the Monarchs. Certainly after running the ball on 17 previous plays, they actually threw the ball. The typical Monte Vista on a drive, Raymond, they ran 16 straight times, and then Villanueva threw the ball to Andrus. Of course, he was wide open in the end zone from 29 yards. It was 4th down, and the typical Monte Vista, they knew to go to the end zone. That's why that's that's who they are. They know what to do. They have great coaching, and that one came late in the first half. They were down though, 24-7, 30-14 at halftime. Want to mention also Junior Thomas Donovan. He had that other touchdown pass, a 72-yard bomb to Bigley. One of Bigley's touchdowns came from Donovan. The Foothillers actually had 6 total touchdown passes on the day. So Villanueva also had a TD pass, and there was an 8-yard rush by Jaden Ellison, who had a nice game as well. Ellison rushed for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 1-yard run. That was his touchdown early on that made it 8-7. So, all right, move on here. That one had plenty of highlights. Take a look. One more. Here's a game, Raymond, with Mount Miguel. We maybe had some concern, but remember the Longhorns aren't the Longhorns this year. They're winless coming into this one. So the Matadors back on track here.
Yeah, great bounce back game for Mount Miguel, showing that they still got it. They can still put up a bunch of points. Paris Vernon bursted onto the scene. I think this was his first game back. He had to sit out for a couple games, but he caught 4 passes for 59 yards and a touchdown. He also rushed for 48 yards and a couple touchdowns. Matt Barton, he had another great game, 293 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow. And Braylon Carwell, another breakout performer, 4 catches, 150 yards and a touchdown. And Jeremiah Castillo is another East County performer, having a player of the year type of season. He had an interception return for a score. So great all around, great balanced game by Mount Miguel, and look like they're back. We got to see, but they got some tough games coming up. But this is a good one to get back on track.
This is what they were talking about. I wish I was a little bit closer and back on the scene, Raymond. I just to follow this Mount Miguel team a little bit and get out there and see, because it really is exciting. These are what the new players, some of the new players you're talking about. Freshman Paris Vernon, he gets eligible, comes in, we're playing a good game to do it against, right? I mean, I'm not picking on Rancho Buena Vista here. They're 0. You don't see a team like Rancho Buena Vista 0-5 right now, but I'm really interested to know more about Braylon Cardwell, the younger brother of Byron Cardwell, with his number. He came over from Morse. So, I mean, it sounds like, I saw Coach V's tweet about him a few weeks ago. I mean, the 5-star talent here. We already know. Bummer that Byron Cardwell is missing this season with an injury. I have a feeling at Cal, where whatever is going to happen with the teams in the Pac-10 and the big, moving on, it feels like he's got still a great career ahead of him moving forward. But Braylon Cardwell, the younger brother of Byron Cardwell, ends up at Mount Miguel. This feels like, wow, more weaponry for the Matadors this year in their pursuit of, dare I say, a state title at Mount Miguel. But they got bigger things. They just worry. Let me do the talking. Mount Miguel, just go out and win your games. You got to, you want to win a league title and all that. Let me talk about the team's overall potential. And Raymond, I'll prod him into talking about it later as well. But wow, Raymond, that's big news with Mount Miguel. Wow. Okay. All right. I don't know too much about these other games. I will flash the scores maybe here a little bit. Maranatha Christian, I don't know if you had anything on that. I make Raymond sit through some of these. I wish they were better, and then maybe we'd have more to talk about. But Mount Empire, they actually hung in there this week with Maranatha Christian. They were supposed to, but they fell to 0-6. This was actually a league game. Phoenix Tanny, 11 carries for 94 yards. And Foothills Christian, an 8-man play, was taking on rival Calvin Christian and pretty much thumped him here. Raymond, I know you've been, at least Cameron Brown, huge game here. Did you catch his numbers?
Yes. 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception on defense. Phenomenal year he's having. He needs more pub. I know it's 8-man players don't get as much publicity, but he's putting up some great numbers. And yeah, Foothills Christian's rolling.
Well, we already talked about them playing a big game against California School for the Deaf, and I'll tell you about their matchup this week. Another tough one coming up. So they're playing good, tough games. They're not backing down. We'll say Foothills Christian is back as far as 8-man football is concerned. They're obviously going to be a contender with those other top teams in the 8-man division in the postseason. Ben Hernandez passed for 2 touchdowns. He ran for another. Josh Hawkins, a rushing touchdown, and Logan and Hunter Hamilton both had receiving touchdowns for the Knights. All right. And I think that was it for the games this week, Raymond. So now we can get into the rankings from around the county. Your rankings, the UT rankings as well. We'll cover it from the UT rankings perspective, but I do have my rankings up here as well. Let me bring them up on screen and we can talk about. I got alarmed there today, some kind of technical glitch. I saw that Helix had moved up to number 2 in the Max Preps rankings, and I went searching to see what. Oh my gosh, could they really? Well, there's some type of glitch. Lincoln had been removed completely from the ratings, like a computer error or something. So I was worried there for a moment that they'd fallen to 3rd.
It's the only way you can take down Lincoln.
I like that. Yeah. All right, here it comes now. We can take a look at the poll. Here, I think it did come up. Lincoln there, here it goes. Lincoln number 1 currently, and Carlsbad number 2. I have them opposite, as obviously currently 9 other voters do as well. But nonetheless, those 2 on a collision course. But maybe we could just take a moment to talk about the top 5 matchup this week. It is on the road at Mission Hills. Any chance Mission Hills can, I guess I was going to say pull off an upset, but any chance they can stay within a couple of touchdowns of Carlsbad, actually?
I actually think they can. I seen Mission Hills. They, yeah. I say what?
Stay within a couple of touchdowns.
Stay within. I don't know. They last year's game was only 10-16. It was a very close game. They're a lot different than the team I saw in week 1 when they went up against Granite Hills. So they have a chance. They could probably keep it within 2 touchdowns. But I would pick Carlsbad to win, but don't be surprised if Mission Hills keeps it close.
Yeah, I would think that just the familiarity, right? The home team. I mean, I know Carlsbad is a super team, no doubt about it. But Mission Hills, I mean, this is not unfamiliar territory to them, obviously.
Those Avocado League teams are going to be gunning for Carlsbad. It's not going to be a cakewalk. There's probably 3 or 4 teams that could compete. Now, I don't know if they could beat Carlsbad, but they're going to make it a game. Yeah,
and there's some other good matchups up there this week too. Lacoste Canyon doesn't exactly have an easy matchup, obviously, either this week. So, Granite Hills still there over Helix, just separated by 6 votes currently. I have Helix currently ahead of Granite, and doesn't really matter though at this point. I know you want to see them win before you move them ahead, but they're on even terms. I mean, it feels like at this point we're just waiting for that matchup to occur. Anything else? Was there any big movement down here that just like most of the teams, or at least half the teams, were off this week, so there wasn't a lot of movement. But you can see down there once again at the bottom, Raymond, you got 8 new entries, and you mean to tell me that okay, Imperial, great. You're 5-1. Look, I'm really happy with Christian. This is great that they've gotten to 4-2. But now where's San Marcos? Where's Torrey Pines is up there? How San Marcos can't be not up there if Torrey Pines is up there. And where's Poway? Where's Poway and Ramona? I've got them top 15. So I don't know what the voters, it's a nice gesture. Are they saying, hey, I'll just take him out this 1 week? Or am I not? Maybe I'm really out of touch. Pull me off the ledge.
Well, what's funny is this actually turned out the way I voted, except for 9 and 10. I got Mater Dei at number 9 and Madison at number 10. But other than that, I voted the exact same way in the top 10. As far as I don't know, I can't tell you what these other voters be thinking. They just, like you said, they just put teams that are hot right now. So a lot of it don't make sense. I can't make sense out of it, so I just put in my vote and just let it do what it does.
All right. Well, I'll be fair. I'm just looking for a talking point, really, and it doesn't, because really all it means is somebody voted Mission Bay number. Actually, it's even, if anything, it's even more. I love all these teams. I love all the prep teams.
Now, what's funny, a Mission Bay apologist will be mad because Christian is ranked ahead of them.
No, exactly that too.
Because they beat them. But what they don't know is just the only reason they are because just 2 people probably ranked Christian number 10 and 1 person ranked Mission Bay number 10. That don't exactly mean they're better. They just accumulated more points for some reason.
No, and that's exactly what I was going to say is all it means is 1 person put Mission Bay number 10, while I'm equating it to number 20 in the county because of the, for example, the Mount Miguel, the 2 votes are probably 2 10th place votes. But to me, that's even more egregious, right? Because we aren't really going to put teams. Maybe we are. Maybe Mission Bay. Maybe these people feel like Mission Bay, Imperial, Mount Miguel is a Mount Miguel. Maybe they are number 10 now with this new talent. I'm half kidding, but still, not having teams like I'm sure some people want to leave off Cathedral Catholic. There's one, for example, I don't want to call out some of my close buddies, but if you're 1 and 5, you're not in there. It doesn't matter if you played if you played the 5 top teams in the United States, you're not going to be in his poll. And that's fine. That's the way you want to do it. But still, I mean, look at who they play. That's why there's still enough reasonable voters here that have Cathedral at number 8. Now, maybe I'm unreasonable. Actually, I'm at number 11. Maybe I have penalized them for, playing a super tough schedule and losing to tough teams. But I'm trying to weigh it out too. And let me say this, Raymond. If anything, I'd say the big riser, the notable team of the week in the county is actually Mater Dei Catholic. I think they're the one that got the most attention. You see, they weren't getting any votes at all last week. They probably deserved a few. I've kind of had them. I still have them at number 7. Actually, I'm still a Mater Dei Catholic honk, if you will, as far as I still think they're kind of the same situation. Tough team, slow start, can't beat teams you're underdogs against, and then they come on strong, beat these teams, and they'll finish probably pretty strong. So, but I'd say they're the team who might have gotten the most attention this week for their success, if you will.
Well, Mater Dei needed that win over St. Augustine. We just need to see that they could beat an actual good team. And I still think St. Augustine's kind of edging in the top 10. At the end of the day, it's all about the top 10 teams in the county. It shouldn't matter what the record is. If you think you could be one, like Cathedral's 1 and 5, but a lot of these teams that are 4 and 0 or 5 and 0, if they had Cathedral schedule, would they still have that same record? Probably not. So it's basically just the top 10. People have their own rules. I can't tell people how to vote, but me personally, it's top 10 teams. I don't care what the record is. Top 10. Top 10, the 10 best teams in the county, point blank. But
I don't have a
everybody vote how you want.
Yeah, I don't have a vote in anything. I'll just give it out though here. I went Mater Dei 7, Saints 8, Madison 9, El Camino 10, Cathedral 11, Del Norte, and then Poway and Ramona. But that's me ranking every team in the top 20, not necessarily just throwing a team a gesture to get them in the top 10 one week to give them one vote. So, okay, thank you for that, and we'll talk more because I'm sure things will continue. We'll see what happens this week with Carlsbad and Mission Hills. I kind of wish those were, we saw Carlsbad get an ESPN game. This would be the game I'd like to see on ESPN, right? I mean, a game where probably, one of their toughest of the season for sure this week on the road at Mission Hills. That's a game worth watching for sure. I'm sure it's going to be a huge crowd. All right. Let's talk about this week in the group. Won't keep you long, Raymond, because we were in league play. And so it's not pretty, sir. Appreciate whatever you can do here for me to hype up these matchups. There's nothing wrong with this matchup here as far as what West Hills is doing. In fact, this is quite exciting to have West Hills in this spot. Now, granted, they're a huge underdog in this game, and that really doesn't matter. But West Hills makes its return to the Hills League this week, and well, they get a really tall order here. They don't have great success against Helix. It was only, I don't know, Raymond, 6 or 7 years ago, West Hills was in the Hills League. They played Helix quite frequently without much success. Although they did, not have they typical West Hills. They're never really crushed in any of the games. Yeah, they might even lost by several touchdowns, but Helix always kind of needed a slow, methodical grind.
Yeah, for West Hills, this is a big game. Like every year, you don't see Helix coming out to West Hills and playing on their turf. So this is going to be big for them. All the students are going to come out. I know the campus is going to be excited about it. They're heavy underdogs. They really playing with house money at this point. They're coming off a huge win against LCAP, their big rivalry. So I like this game for them. As far as their chances to win, I don't like it so much. I think Helix is going to roll. It's going to be a blowout. But if I'm Helix, don't come into this game thinking it's going to be a cakewalk, because they're going to be ready. They're pumped up. They're coming off heavy momentum. And they got a great running game that they could get going and control the clock with. But again, this Helix is game to win.
Okay. Yeah, I say it like that. I mean, I'm talking about back in the day, West Hills Helix. I mean, when they were last in the Hills League, that's why they kind of readjusted the leagues a little bit. I think there was like a 62-0 in there. There was like a 55-30 nothing and a 35-44-0. I'm kind of referring back into more like the I think it was maybe maybe it might have even been the Grossmont South, Grossmont North, whatever it was back in the day. So actually, it was kind of tough. Over the last few years, I want to say they were back in the same league back in 2017. It was 59-0. Helix won. The year before that, it was 56-0. The year before, and like that. So it hasn't been. If you look at the computer, if you look at the official computer, it's supposed to be like an 8-touchdown game. I don't think it's going to be. I want to give West Hills some credit here and think they could, keep it within. It's going to hopefully it could be 35-14, 35-20, 42-21, something like that. That'd be a great effort right now. But Helix on just such a roll. I'm not going to insult West Hills, but please cover that preppy computer that everybody refers to says 62-0. Forget that. If they can stay within, 4 touchdowns, that'd be pretty great. Let's have a good performance. West Hills at home in a Hills League game here against mighty Helix. So it's gonna be tough. All right, I just want to. They don't need me to fire them up. Just want to spill the truth here about this matchup, Raymond. I think you were pretty nice to West Hills there. I'd love to see West Hills have a great effort. Of course. Okay. Here's kind of the same situation now. You got another new team in the Hills League coming in, Santana taking on, Granite Hills. And this one is supposed to be rated a little bit closer than that last one. I don't know why that would be. Is West Hills maybe just a little bit better than Santana? I don't think that's proven at this point. Maybe in the past record just a little bit, but and is Granite Hills better than they're certainly on even terms. Well, still Granite Hills going to be close to 5-6 touchdown favorite at least here.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I say the same thing for West Hill. That I said for West Hills. This is going to be a big game. Defending state champion, top 5 team don't show up at Santee Community Stadium every year. So hopefully the school is up for it. The student section is up for it. Santana's they showed a lot of flashes of being a great team this year. 4-1 for a reason. They beat a great El Capitan team. So they're coming off a little bit of momentum themselves. But Granite Hills is just playing at a different level right now. They're looking like a open division team. They're looking like a team that can compete with Helix later on down the line. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty decisive game for Granite Hills. Like if Santana pull this off, this probably would be the biggest upset of the year. So but I trust Santana to put up a good fight. But yeah, Granite Hills is just on another level right now.
Raymond, how does Granite Hills offensive line stack up against some of the top? I mean, they just look huge. It looks like a college offensive line.
Both lines are doing pretty good. Yeah, that offensive line. I didn't see Benitez get sacked. He probably only got sacked twice if he got sacked at all. But yeah, that line is really carrying the team right now. Not carrying them, but like they're really carrying the offense, helping them make some plays.
I wonder if it's got to be better. It look, I don't know. I don't want to compare lines one year to the next, but they just look like immovable object for sure. Okay, so
they got a three-time All CIF. I think Trulio, I believe his name. His nickname is Blue, but I don't think it's Alejandro Trulio. He's like a three-time All CIF guard, so he's leading that offensive line, and that's why they're putting up great numbers on offense.
Great, thank you for that. All right, look, this is a nice game right here. This might be this is probably the game of the week in the East County. Let me just say it as it is. If you're looking for the closest, and it's really not rated that closely, but I have a feeling if Grossmont has made any strides at all, this would be a game that they could try to shoot for an upset. They're probably 3 touchdown underdogs at least here, I would think, to Steel Canyon. Steel Canyon themselves are on a little bit of an upswing here, it feels like, despite what looked to be, some, losing some offensive talent, but they've pieced together 3 wins here already. So this looks like a pretty decent game. It just feels like it's kind of the most closely rated of the Grossmont Conference, the Grossmont Hill Conference games, league games, but of the teams involving 2 Grossmont Conference teams.
Yeah, in the past, when these 2 teams got together, we got some crazy high-scoring affairs, some crazy comebacks, some wild finishes. I expect this to be the same, even though Steel Canyon is on a roll right now. They're looking good. Their last couple of wins have been impressive. So I hate to pick against Grossmont because they got a stacked team as well. If everybody comes back healthy, I don't know if Josh Ferrara is going to come back healthy, but he's needed because their run game, Steel Canyon's run game is pretty hot right now. This is a tough game to pick. I think whoever wins this, it's going to be close. I don't think any of these teams are going to win decisively. I think it's going to be like 1 or 2 touchdowns. Just for the sake, I'm going to have to make a pick anyway. I'm going to go with Steel Canyon since they're at home and they're on a roll right now.
Yeah, like I said, they've got to be, significant favorites. So if Grossmont can keep this anywhere close within a touchdown or 2 and stay in this game and make it exciting, that's going to be a good performance for Grossmont. And I also want to look for Nico Yara to have more big plays. I'm waiting for this guy to start to get some attention throughout the county. He feels like he is an elite player so far that maybe hasn't gotten the attention he deserves for his big play ability. So we'll see in that one. But like I said, this is the best game. If you're looking for the game to go to, yeah, you can go see one of the great teams. Maybe you don't get a chance to see Helix and Granite Hills up there in Santee or whatever. But if you're an East County fan, you say, let me find the best game of the night. I think this is out of the Grossmont Conference teams. I'll tell you in a moment. There's some better games than this, and I think this next one is one of them. And we'll get into some of the other league play here. I just want to go to this one next, and we'll go to the Hills League, the Valley League in a moment. But this kind of stacks up to me as kind of a big game in the Eastern League right now because Christian, both teams pretty good. I have Point Loma right now ranked number 19th. We saw in the poll, Christian was a team that has earned votes in the poll. Well, and I don't believe Point Loma. I think they were actually not there. I think Point Loma is better, but this one's at Valley Stadium, so Christian at home. I think that is an equalizer here. The computers are pointing to Point Loma, and I think I feel like they're a little bit better than Christian, and Christian, the inconsistency does worry me a little bit, but Christians look good. They definitely have their connections now with the Eads brothers, with Johnson, and what we talked about. I think this is going to be a good game with a potential. Can Christian upset Point Loma? I'll just ask my expert.
Yeah, anything can happen. Point Loma's playing great. Brady Allen, he put up like a couple of touchdowns against my Cavers in their last game. They won 50-7. So Point Loma's coming off a high scoring affair. They could probably keep that momentum going. But Christian's coming off some heavy momentum too. I think Christian, I don't know if it'll be an upset. These two teams are evenly matched. I think they both got a great quarterback. They both got good receivers, great weapons on defense. I think Christian could win this in a close one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Point Loma won either.
Yeah, according to the computers, it would be an upset, but again, they don't really take too much of a home field into account. And I know it's preps, but I still think, and even though Christian, we know Valley State, that's their home field and all that. So it just does feel to me like Point Loma is still the slight favorite here coming in, and it feels like it could be an equal game. Of course, I think Christian can win this game. It would be a huge win. It would be a huge win to start out to get rolling here for Christian, certainly. So I'm willing to throw out that ugly loss that they had. If they can pull off something like this here, probably feels like it could go down to the wire. But the Cal Preps computer has it by Point Loma by a touchdown or so, and some other computer has it by a little bit more. All right, let's go to the Valley League now with a couple of games here. This one figures to be one-sided as well, but like you said, El Capitan, they'll look to get it going here against a Monte Vista team that, has, one thing they'll be doing is trying to just run the ball, eat the clock, keep a low score here. El Capitan has the explosiveness. Monte Vista does have, pretty decent athletes. I think they've looked okay this year. For 1-5, I think Monte Vista has done a nice job. I'd actually say I'm not criticizing El Cap. I hope they do well, but it's been a little bit of a disappointment of late. And even though Monte Vista, man, they just keep trying hard. El Cap's still going to be expected here, Raymond, to win by 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is the game they need to get back on track after losing 3 straight. I'm not surprised anymore. I keep picking El Cap. I've picked El Cap the last 3 games, and they've disappointed me the last 3 games. So I'm kind of scared of this one. Like Monte Vista might turn around and control the clock and pull off the upset. But no, I think you're right. I got El Cap by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think they get back on track here.
Yeah, I think the thing for Monte Vista last week against Grossmont, and maybe if you look right now, Grossmont, maybe you could almost equate Grossmont with a West Hills or a Santana. Yeah, maybe they're a little bit behind them still because of their bad season, and in West Hills and Santana were so competitive in the Hills League last year and have come into the Valley League and beaten El Cap and everything. But so for me, when I think about their game last week, Grossmont on the road at Monte Vista, Grossmont did a nice job, but I think Monte Vista, quote unquote, covered the spread against Grossmont last week. And if Monte Vista, if it's 35-21, that's going to be a good performance by Monte Vista. If it's somewhere around there, if it's 49-7, the El Capitan can be confident that they're kind of gained a little bit back. They just want to build momentum. They want to win all their league games, of course, so they can have that big game with Mount Miguel at the end of the season. Still nothing's changed. And maybe we could complete that discussion here after talking about this game, but for me, nothing's changed other than, maybe Mount Miguel has passed El Capitan as far as the perception of who is the favorite for the league title, but none of the other teams look to be able to compete, Raymond, for the title other than these two teams here, El Capitan and Mount Miguel. Mount Miguel is a league game here against Valhalla, and they are expected to win this one also, certainly 3, 4, 5 touchdowns on the road.
Yeah, this is the part of Mount Miguel's schedule where they play the lower division teams, except for El Cap, they're D3. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Valhalla. They still got a great running game. Brandon Doctor still probably going to get his sack. But I got Mount Miguel winning in this one. They got their confidence back in their win against RBV, and they're going to be back to rolling again. They're humble. They know they could lose. They know they're not untouchable. So they're going to go into this game. I don't think they're going to overlook Valhalla. They're going to play their game and take care of business.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened last Friday. Seems so long ago after football, college and pro and all. But I don't know why I didn't get. Oh, I think the RBV didn't have the NFHS set up. I just don't remember seeing. I didn't see any of the Mount Miguel game last week. I only got. That's why that news of having Cardwell. I knew you had mentioned, or I think it was actually talked about either by you or some of the talk about Mount Miguel adding players after the sit-out period ended, and that those are some big names. We'll see what else they have in store for us. Okay, I mentioned the game of the week, Raymond. This is actually the game of the week in the East County. It's unfortunate it's not two East County teams, but it's still going to be in El Cajon, and it feels like it's the game of the week to me with Holtville coming in. Yeah, the Braves are probably favored to win this game, but Holtville's pretty great too, and it feels like just a really good matchup that Holtville could come in, and it'd be an upset, I think, if Holtville wins. But for the Braves, an important game nonetheless before they get into their league play.
In an earlier podcast, I was asked who was the most surprising team of this season. I had said Granite Hills, but what I should have said was El Cajon Valley. Their turnaround this season has been amazing. Du Bois is throwing the ball well. He's playing pretty great. Paris Dixon is playing great his senior year. I think El Cajon Valley could go 5-1. Holtville is a pretty decent team from the Imperial Valley. They're going to put up a great fight. This could go either way. I don't know if there's a clear favorite here, but hopefully El Cajon Valley can keep that momentum going, go 5-1, and prevent a losing season.
Yeah, Holtville with wins so far over Southwest and all Empire and Calexico so far off of their schedule. So this is tough for them to come into El Cajon Valley right now. I mean, the Braves they're playing pretty well against similar ilk, if you will, and they're maybe a favorite here. It looks like by maybe a touchdown, maybe less than a touchdown. The other computer kind of has Holtville favored here, but I'm going to say the Braves would be disappointed if they didn't win this one. Or I know they expect a tough battle here, so we'll see. But to me, that's the closest game of all these games that we just talked about so far. Maybe the lowest level of play out of these games, but the best game. And there's nothing wrong with the Braves level of play. It's really good. It's really crisp and fun to watch right now. This will be the fun game of the night. Okay. Mountain Empire. Hey, Raymond, I found somebody they can beat here. They should beat O'Farrell, but I'm just thinking maybe, with O'Farrell at home and maybe they can hang in there. Do show the computers pretty much have Mountain Empire about at least a touchdown or two favorite. I don't know if you have anything on this one, but it is a league game. Mountain Empire is 0-1 in league. That Maranatha game was a league game, by the way. And
O'Farrell is like a 5 AA score. I think Mountain Empire should win this one. O'Farrell's still new. They're probably like 3 or 4 years old right now, and they got a long ways to go. So I got Mountain Empire winning this one, getting in the winner's circle.
Yeah, they could. They should. They better win this one. They really need a victory. Obviously, O'Farrell wants one too. And so did a little bit of research just to let you know what's going on with Foothills. This is Sage Hills. Here's the thing. Foothills Christian is ranked 14th in the state. Max, there's been enough games now that Max Prep's computer has got the 8-man rankings up, and Foothills Christian is 14th. Sage Hills is ranked 7th in the state. They're in the southern section, so it doesn't matter if you're 8-man. They still have a league in the southern section. I imagine it's probably pretty good. And Sage Hill, but with Foothills Christian at home, I don't know. I'm not really predicting what's going to happen, but it feels to me like it's probably pretty close. If you got a number 7 state-ranked 8-man team against a number 14 8-man team at home, and you have the southern section team coming on the road, maybe they can win, but it feels like a toss-up. I don't know if you have an opinion, but I just think it's interesting.
I'm expecting another great game from Cameron Brown, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Foothills Christian. I don't know much about Sage Hills, but they're in the southern section. They're probably a pretty good team. They're 3-1. So, but hopefully, I got Foothills Christian in a close one.
All right, appreciate that. We'll take a look at last week's stars from Raymond's website. Maybe cover a few of them here and get out of here. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll catch you next week with more, Raymond. But let's take a look at some of those players that you highlighted this week on your website with Matthew Barton. Big game for him. You mentioned the 293, 3 touchdowns for Barton. Cody Bigley, man, he's having a big year. We've had some other wide receivers with some big numbers. I'd actually be interested in putting them all up together here. Bigley, I know, sure, with I guess I could think of a couple of others here in the East County that could, but I'm not sure they have the numbers Bigley does right now. Cameron Brown, that 300-yard rushing day, you mentioned it. Herber with the big number. Colin Dill, we're back to stardom for Colin Dill. And you don't need to, he was wearing that goofy hat when he sat out that last game. I'm calling him out. It was a very patriotic hat, but he was at least identifiable. I was able to see that he wasn't playing in the game. Thanks, Colin. And who else you got, Raymond? I have, Paris Vernon, the freshman down there as well with his 3 touchdowns against RBV. You also have honorable mentions this week. I'll run them down here. Zach Benitez, Diego Calderon. There's Jeremiah Castillo in there. Dylan Eads, 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. Also, Spencer Johnson, Brendan Lewis. He's having a big year. I think he's underrated countywide. So appreciate you highlighting the stars this week, Raymond. Anything stand out for you?
I just like the year that Bigley is having. Hope he can stay healthy, and he might be the leading receiver. Also like what Jeremiah Castillo is doing on both sides of the ball for Mount Miguel. He's been a star long before the new regime got there, and he's just continuing now. So I'm excited about those two off the top of my head.
All right, appreciate you this week. We'll catch up with you again next week. We'll catch your highlights. We'll talk more East County football. We're getting closer. Oh, man, it's almost half over. All right, for Raymond Brown, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us, East County Prep Football Report.